Hey everyone, I'm absolutely thrilled you're here. Today's session is about how you, as business leaders, can get the most out of AI to help double your profits by working securely, smartly, and strategically. I'm Ken Sakunim, owner and founder of Northstar Technology Group, and for the last 25 years, I've helped protect my customers' profits and reputation. Now, today we are in the middle of an absolute revolution. AI is transforming how businesses operate. Smart companies are leveraging it for speed, profit, and competitive advantage, while others, they're falling behind. But at the end of this session, hopefully you'll have a clear roadmap on how to use and leverage artificial intelligence in your business. But first, I want you to meet Lisa and Mark. Lisa embraced AI. She eliminated admin clutter. She sped up sales and saved over $15,000 a month within 90 days. Mark didn't. He's using unsecured tools, facing data breaches, and losing market share. Every day you wait, you're playing catch up. So, who do you want to be, Mark or Lisa? Lisa treats AI like a strategic business partner. She uses it to craft emails, come up with new ideas, set goals, and solve real problems. Now, of course, it's more than just email replies and meeting notes and funny pictures. Yes, that is supposed to be me as a superhero or one of those action figures, right? But of course, it's more than that. Not to say that Lisa doesn't use it for those things. I mean, who doesn't like to see their CFO dressed up in a cape, right? But Lisa makes AI work with her. She uses AI as a thought partner to solve complex business problems, and then she also uses AI to automate repetitive tasks using the tools that she already owns. So specifically, how does AI help Lisa? Well, I like to break this down into two main areas where we help organizations use AI, including Lisa. The first is secure AI thought partnership. This is how I'm guessing many of you use AI currently. You have ChatGPT or Copilot or some of these other AI large language models, and you type stuff to it and you get answers, right? The second way is through automating workflows, right? Utilizing some form of technology to make repetitive, time-consuming tasks done by AI. And we'll be talking about both of those things. So, how do we use AI as a thought partner? Now, there's this concept that we talk about where you have garbage in, garbage out, right? So if you input bad things, it's going to output bad things. So we built a framework that I call Drive to help you get the most out of chatting with AI to get the best output. And it stands for define, role, interview, voice, and end goal. So for those of you that have ChatGPT, I encourage you to fire it up right now, get to a chat prompt, and think about a business problem that you need to solve. First thing I want you to do is type define, and then a dash, and type exactly what the issue is. In this example, I said create a persuasive webinar, showcasing AI value with some sort of call to action. Hit shift and enter, then type in role, dash, and then assign an AI and role. So this is where you decide who you would ask this question. You're not going to ask a financial question to a comedian, right? You're not going to ask how to write jokes to a CPA. So based on the problem that you're trying to solve, type in the role. In my example, this could be an AI expert that is specialized in multimedia presentations. Now do it again for interview. Here's where it gets to be pretty powerful. Tell AI that you want it to interview you 3 questions, up to 3 questions, one at a time to gain clarity on this issue that you're trying to solve. V is for voice. Type in voice with a dash. This is where you want to set the tone of how AI responds. Again, you don't want it to be funny and entertaining if the topic is serious and formal. Type the type of tone that you want. And then last, type in end goal. and in a dash and type in exactly what you want AI to produce. In this case, it was develop a 25 to 35-minute slide by slide webinar script with actionable talking points. You know exactly what it is that you're asking for. Type it in and hit enter and see what it does, right? The first step, it's probably going to ask you those interview questions. Answer them, right? And then when it does provide the output, what is the output? We're going to try this live here in a second. The second area, again, where AI has a huge impact is automation, business automation, workflow automation. I'm sure many of you can think of things in your business, right, that is repetitive, time-consuming, it requires a human being to do. Maybe it is HR and benefit questions, right? Someone's having to field those all day, every day, right? Maybe people have questions about contracts for their customers and their vendors, and somebody has to go look up that information, or you have to go look up and read the contract and find out what's in it. Maybe you have tech support issues, right? That it's a hassle and you have to call or you have to talk to somebody to get them resolved. The list goes on, right? And we are currently working on probably about 50 plus of these automations right now. But I'm sure as you're thinking through this, and I'm hopefully that this exercise will help you think about, what are some of these, within my organization that I could help automate. All right, so we're going to do a quick demonstration. This is where everything always goes downhill, right? So we talked about the DRIVE framework. And one of the things that I want to do is give people an opportunity, right, to help me pick what business problem I'm going to solve, and I'll actually do this live. You can kind of see how this works. Problem number one is high employee attrition rate. Let's say my company is experiencing high employee turnover, resulting in increased hiring costs. Problem number two could be insufficient sales leads. The problem is my company struggles to generate enough qualified sales leads, leading to missed revenue targets. Or another problem could be customer dissatisfaction is rising, resulting in increased churn. Customers are leaving us, which is, of course, negatively impacting customers leaving our revenue. So, I don't know. Let's just pick one of these things, right? But the idea, of course, is to focus on and think about what are your business problems. So I'm going to do this one here, and we're just going to say, define the company is experiencing high employee turnover, resulting in expensive hiring and reduced team morale. The role is I want to be an HR and staffing expert. Interview me up to two questions, one at a time, to gain clarity. Voice, I want this to be formal yet reassuring. I don't want to be totally have the hard truth told me. The end game is implement AI-driven employee engagement tools, including chat bots for early detection of dissatisfaction, proactive retention efforts, and personalized dev plans. All right, let's see what it says. All right, let's begin the interview. Question number one, could you elaborate on the primary factors contributing to your company's high employee turnover? I'm going to say we doubled customers and now everyone is stressed. All right, it's thinking. Thank you for sharing that insight. Given this accelerated growth, have you implemented any current strategies, increased staffing? We are trying to hire, but having problems finding good candidates. And again, I'm just doing this to show you how the DRIVE framework works. In your examples, you're going to want to think through this deeply and answer with detailed responses. All right, thank you for clarifying. Based on this, I recommend the implementation of AI-driven employee engagement tools. Would you like me to outline a detailed approach. Yeah, let's outline that approach. All right, so again, it's going to spit out some output, right? And again, the first time you type in things using the Drive framework, it may or may not give you the output that you're looking for. The best part of it is you see that blinking cursor around Ask Anything. You can tell it to rewrite the whole thing. You can tell it to add more detail. You could tell it to break it into bullet points or action items or checklists. Have the conversation to get what you want, just like you would a human being, right? Anyway, you can kind of get the sense of how this is built. So again, the Drive framework is garbage in, garbage out, so you want to avoid that. So we're typing in very, very specific things based on defining the issue that you're working on, giving it a role, a job, having it interview you to get clarity, giving it a voice, right, what the output tone should be like, and eventually what is the output that you want. We have built a custom GPT to kind of handle this also for you. And so those of you that book a call with the QR code at the end of this, I'll actually give you this for free. But let's go through another problem using my Drive AI Assistant. Again, it's built on the Drive framework. It just kind of helps step you through it. So in this one, we're going to do the poor customer satisfaction. So the issue is customers are frustrated, rising churn, and lower revenue. Maybe some of you guys can relate to this problem. The role, we're going to take on the role of a customer experience expert in this case. You can actually pick multiple roles. You don't even have to pick just one. All right, goal recap. So we're dealing with customer frustration, which is increasing churn, which is lowering our revenue. All right, so the questions. What feedback are you receiving from customers? Surveys are bad. Exit interviews are non-existent. What recent changes have been made to your product, service, pricing, or support? We've doubled customers and can't find staff to hire. And 3, which customer segments or products? I'm just going to say across the board. Here's what I'm hearing. Surveys show dissatisfaction. We've experienced a lot of growth, but we can't hire people, and churn is widespread. How should I deliver it? Analytical, inspirational. You know what? I'm feeling kind of bad about all this. I'm going to say be inspirational when you reply. All right, turning pain into power, rebuilding trust through scalable experience. So, you know what? You're not alone. Many companies hit this wall. Rapid growth outpaces capacity, reality check, right? So it gives you a bunch of things, inspirational actions, creating a customer service strike team, automation with empathy, communicate with customers, right? It builds out a plan. Again, this is pretty short, but I could follow up and say, hey, I need more detail to this. Or I could say, build me a 90-day plan with action item checklists, right? Like I said, the gold is in the follow-up. I hope this makes sense, right? The Drive framework and then our automated Drive framework to help you get more out of chatting with AI. I'll show you another thing here. So again, we are building out, what is going on with this? We are building out automations. Of course, this is demos, they always struggle, right? But we are building out automations, particularly to solve business problems. Here's an example of one. Again, we're building about 50 of these, and how we deliver it may be specific to your organization. So we're building this out in Microsoft Teams and Slack. We're going to have access to text message, right? But here's an example of an HR specialist or assistant. And I'll be talking through some of this stuff, right? So we built this up and we trained this on our HR benefits and policy. So it's actually grabbing real business information. And this is pulling from our handbooks, it's pulling from our benefits data, all kinds of stuff. Can I get glasses? You know, we find that organizations spend a lot of time just asking their HR people for some of these things, right? Do I get dental care? And again, the idea here is to allow for 24/7, 365 access, right, to would have to field, right? Let's say, how do I request PTO? Some of these may not have the answers, right? And for a few of these, it will then create a ticket within the ticketing system so our HR person can answer, right? But again, the idea here is to build a digital employee, right, to solve a real world business problem and take that stress and time away from human beings. So why is that cool, right? Let me just do some math for you. So let's just take a company the size of 100 employees. Typically, best practices say that the average number of HR questions per month is 2 per employee. The average time to answer that is 10 minutes. So the total number of questions per month is 200. And so let's just say, for argument's sake, that your HR specialist fully loaded cost per hour is $40 to $50 an hour. 80 to 90% of that, your business is saving anywhere from $13,000 to $18,000 per year in savings. This is real money, right? And if you start to expand that out to other departments, right? I imagine you have a dream team of an org chart, right? Like every department, you know what types of jobs, what types of description, what types of roles that you would like to see, but you haven't been able to do that because budgets are real, right? Now, think about this, expand your mind for a second for every department that you have and how many of these workflows or these jobs that you have, right, that we can assign a AI employee to, a digital employee. This stuff really, really starts to add up. We see 5 to 10 workflows, right, per department, saving on average 250 to 500 hours a year, and we're looking at least 2 FTEs worth of time saving. Now, that money could go towards paying your other employees more. It could go towards training and implementation projects, right? I'm hoping that your mind is racing on all the possibilities of how you could see and use AI within your business. So remember Mark? What happened to Mark, right? Well, he's doing nothing. And the truth is that doing nothing isn't net neutral. It's actually putting you at risk and further behind. So Mark's inability to act has I guess, allowed his team to use unsecured, free AI tools that, unbeknownst to him, somebody pasted some sensitive customer information that was all of a sudden publicly searchable. He ended up getting into a lawsuit for $200,000 and ended up losing a bunch of customers, right? So like I said, doing nothing really isn't net neutral anymore. It's actually going backwards. How many here have heard of the Dunning-Kruger S-curve, right, of technology adoption? This is something that everybody goes through when they're adopting some new change. It could be technology, but it could be anything like I'm going to learn a new skill, like speak a different language, or I'm going to learn to play pickleball. It's kind of the curve that compares ability and confidence, right? So at first, when you start something new, you know nothing, right? And in this case, maybe it's AI. Mark knows nothing, right? Then you start playing with some stuff and you start to kind of, gain some confidence and gain some skills. All of a sudden, your confidence shoots up to what we call the peak of stupidity, right? This is the point where people know the least but have the highest confidence. And I'm sure you can relate to this. Shortly after that, if you continue on this path, you will start to recognize that, hey, man, maybe I don't know as much about this as I thought I did. And you plummet to what we call the pit of frustration. And this is where organizations like Mark's stay, right? They end up not progressing because they don't have a structured process and roadmap. They end up giving up, right, because they aren't progressing. So all of a sudden, they're like, what was the point of all this stuff? None of this stuff worked. The key, of course, is to be able to have a structured and mentored roadmap, right, where you have a plan to implement this stuff so you can start to dig yourself out of that pit of frustration, start to increase and climb up that slope of enlightenment. And once you hit that sustainability, right, where your confidence level and your capability is in line, that's where we see success. In addition, Mark is bombarded with tools, right? Today, I think there's anywhere between 2,000 to 4,000 of AI tools that are available on the market. There's just too many options. How do you pick which ones are the right ones? And 87% of businesses feel overwhelmed, and 62% actually fail on their first attempt. But if you do it right, the ROI is 14 times. Now, we are seeing rapid adoption, right? As I mentioned at the beginning of this, the revolution is here, whether you're ready or not. We are seeing AI being adopted 10 times faster than we did the internet. The vast majority, over 8 out of 10 businesses, are making AI a priority. Yet 92% feel that they have a gap on what they should do. They have no idea where to begin. So, who are you going to be like? Lisa or Mark? I knew this was the smart group, right? Team Lisa. Even if you are Team Lisa, right, you have two paths. You can go alone or with expert guidance. Sure, all of the information that you need to implement AI is out there somewhere on the internet for you available. But that's an expensive trial and error experiment. You put yourself open to security risks if you don't do this the right way. And honestly, delayed implementation equals lost opportunity. It's expensive either way, right? The alternative is you work with a partner, right? Accelerate your implementation. Be strategic in your roadmaps, making sure that all of your data is properly secured and private while you maximize your ROI. Now, what if I told you that there was an easy button for all of this, right? We have a secure AI chat solution, right? We call this the Virtual Chief Artificial Intelligence Officer. It includes a bunch of services. It includes the secure AI chat, right? Built upon the framework of Drive. We provide strategic leadership, dedicated AI expertise, road mapping, tool selection, planning, all of it. We build up your automations, right? The HR specialist is just one example. We have 50 that we're working on right now. Imagine how this could transform your org chart. And finally, we offer community because we're better together when it comes to this stuff. So we provide community training, right? Because at the end of the day, we need to make sure that your team adopts these solutions. So if you are truly Team Lisa, hit the QR code, schedule a 30-minute call with me. We'll analyze and review your organization, build up some use cases, right? We call it ideation. And let's see if we can find $30,000 of AI opportunity in 30 days. Thank you.